Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me okay. Now, have you ever wondered why we need insurance? If you need it as a crafter, as a hobbyist, doing YouTube, or maybe just selling your crafts at events, that's what we're here to talk about today. Now, risks are all around us. We can choose to ignore them. Sorry about that. We can choose to ignore them, just tolerate them, put up with the risks. We can choose to minimize them. And we can choose to insure against them. And in some cases, we don't have a choice but to insure. So that's what we're talking about today. Now, I understand you can hear me. That's great. Thank you, John. Thank you all for being here with us today. Now, what we're going to look at is several forms of insurance. And I suppose I should fill you in on my credentials first of all. You all know me as a crafter, probably, and a crazy woman from the Midlands who just makes things and is a bit too into cars and animals and stuff. What you may not know is that until I retired, crikey, 6 years ago now, I was a learning and development specialist for a substantial insurance company. I trained probably thousands of people through various insurance qualifications and skills, including management training and so on. ACII qualified, CIPD DIP, AFPC, what else is there? Green swimming braid, bronze in ballroom dancing, advanced motorist. There we go. So this is, you could say, a field of some sort of expertise for me, even though I may be a little bit rusty after a few years as it is. Now, it's funny really, because I often start my lives by saying I'm no expert, but this time to a degree, I am, or was. There we go. We're going to talk about these things. I get asked a lot, particularly by those of you who are selling at craft fairs. That's kind of where this topic started from. Now, bear in mind, as I said, I may be a little bit rusty on some of these topics, and don't ask me much about numbers because I am dyscalculic, as you know. However, hopefully my knowledge is reasonably up to date still. It is, of course, based on UK law. But for those of you in other countries, then hopefully it will give you an idea of the sort of things that we think about in the UK and that you can then go ahead and look into in your own countries. Equally, in the UK, do check out your own situation. Talk to insurance companies or brokers. Talk to your own insurance companies that you're already with, and talk to HMRC. That's the tax office for those of you from other countries who don't know, just to make sure. So there's the caveat here, bit of a disclaimer. You do need to check for your own circumstances and the absolute up-to-date situation where you are, because of course all of our circumstances are different. So the topics I'm going to be talking about today will cover product and public liability, employer's liability. You might not realise you need that. I'll come on to that one. But also the implications that you might have around your car insurance and your house insurance that you may or may not have thought of. So, and the latest one, did you know there's such a thing as social influencers insurance? Yeah, there is. So for those of us doing YouTube, companies call it different things. It can be public figure insurance, it can be digital content creator insurance, or it can be social influencer insurance. Something I've had to swat up on recently, so I'll share all that with you as well. So there's my plan. Now, what I'm going to do is go through each of these in turn. I have got a bunch of people in chat already, only a few, but I can see that we've got some interested parties. That's a great start. So I'm going to, with your permission, so say if you're not happy with this, please, in chat, everyone. But with your permission, I'm going to put your chat up on screen so that anybody watching back later can see what you're asking and what you're talking about. And that way, hopefully, it will mean I won't miss any of your questions as well. Is that okay with everyone? I hope so. I'm just about to pop it on screen as nobody's shouted up. But as they say on telly, please don't swear, you're live. And there you all are. So we have got a few people in the house, as they say. Now, let's talk through these. Now, some of you have already sent in questions beforehand for me, and I will try to tackle those as we go along. but also we will be doing a Q&A at the end of each segment, and also a wrap-up Q&A at the end, and we can talk whatever things you want to talk about. So let's go through the types of insurances that we have. There are two insurances that would affect us that are mandatory in the UK, and those are car insurance and employers' liability insurance. And people don't always realise that they are affected by our status if we are a business, whether that be a YouTube business or whether that be a craft business or anything else that you might be involved in. Then begs the question, how do you define a business? I decided to ask ChatGPT. What a cop-out is this? And this is what ChatGPT said. We're talking crafters here. Thinking from the HMRC point of view, it looks at the nature of the activity, not whether you just call it a hobby or a business. Now, if you're regularly making crafts or doing YouTube with the intention to make a profit, even if it's on a small scale, you're likely to be classed as trading. And that means you do need to report it to HMRC. So if you are making things specifically to sell, you're aiming to cover costs or make a profit, or you sell regularly, not just once or twice a year. If you promote or advertise your products online at all, and if you get repeat customers and take commissions, that sort of thing is what they're looking at. And if it's any help, I know somebody did ask at what point we need to report us that we are running a small business to HMRC. You are allowed £1,000 tax-free trading allowance per year. So if your gross income, that is before taking any expenses out, from selling your crafts is less than £1,000 a year, you don't need to register as self-employed or file a tax return. Once you go over that, you do. Now, do bear in mind, obviously, you can claim expenses against whatever profits you make. So, you know, for example, they're a bit mucky, but I bought all these moulds myself, and I bought 3 of them. So that came to about £10, which I can offset as a business expense. If you have a look on the HMRC website, it does tell you a whole load of things that you can deduct as a business expense, including the use of your home as an office and things like that. So do have a good look at the list. You'll be surprised just how much it covers. So hopefully you can minimise any tax implications for yourself by keeping careful records. Of course, you could end up paying national insurance as well if you earn over certain thresholds. You'll need to check what those thresholds are because they do change from year to year. So that's how we define a business. And thank you to ChatGPT, because I was struggling to put that into quick, easy words for us for today. Now, let's assume we are selling crafts at craft fairs. First of all, let's think about your house insurance. Let's do the ones that we typically already have. First of all, house insurance. We choose whether to insure our house or not. Frankly, personal opinion, I think we'd be very silly not to. We've just had our carport demolished. The insurance would have picked that up because it was a car impact. As it happened, his car insurance covered it. But if it hadn't, if it had been a hit and run, that would have been covered. Multitude of other things. So house insurance. Your typical house insurance excludes the use of your home for business. Now, the problem with this is you could say, well, I only use this room. This is my craft room. This is where all the filming happens. You could say, I only use this room for business. That just excludes this room. Well, how do you exclude a room and one lot of content that might move from one room to another, like my laptop, which is personal use as well as business use, and so on? It's very, very difficult. So I've actually got it specified on my house insurance. It effectively deletes the exclusion of business use on the house. Does that make sense? So normally a house insurance will exclude business use. If you don't declare it, they can decline claims relating to it. So I have declared it, and as I've declared it, that exclusion has been removed. So it now includes business use. which is really handy. Not many insurers will do that. Some will say, no, you need to take out separate insurance, but mine added it on for a tiny little extra cost, really tiny. Forget the exact amount. Was it something like 40 or 50 pounds for the year? It wasn't a lot anyway. And that picks up for me. Also, because I've got this little add-on to my home insurance, it adds in things like public liability, employer's liability, and so on. So if I go to do a craft fair, which I don't very often, to be fair, but if I did and they wanted to see a certificate of insurance, I can give them that. Now, if you have to take that out separately, that is what you're looking for. You are looking for public liability, product liability, and employer's liability. That may sound odd. Typically, your craft fair will be asking you to have public liability insurance. That's the main one. So let's say someone picks up the randomly bright orange scorpion that I've made on my trade stand and cuts their finger and tries to sue me. Maybe a bit breaks off and their child chokes on it. Somebody trips over a power cable to my lights or whatever. All those sort of things. That is what an event promoter who's doing, running a craft fair or whatever is worried about. It's any liability that you might incur that their insurance doesn't cover, yours should. Now, some people have said, I don't want insurance because I don't want to be liable for things, which shows an extreme misunderstanding of how the law works. Whether you've got insurance or not, if you're liable for something, so the incident can be deemed to be your fault and somebody has suffered harm as a result, you can be sued for it. I don't want to scare everybody because let's face it, we're making crafts. It's very unlikely we're going to hurt anybody. But if we did, we could be sued for it. And if you haven't got insurance, where are you going to find the money for any damages that you have to pay? If you've got insurance, it can pick the bill up for you if the circumstances are right and you've done your best and all that sort of thing. So that's why we need the public liability insurance that they ask us to have when we're doing things like craft fairs. The next thing that you might want to add into that, and personally I think it's a good idea, is product liability insurance. So I'm just grabbing the scorpion again because it's the nearest thing. Should we have a different colour? Let's have a yellow one. So let's say I make this into a keychain and a person takes it home and it fails somehow. The little link comes off. Again, the child chokes on it, or somebody stands on it and cuts their foot open. Any of the stupid things that can happen, despite our best efforts with the lovely little things that we make, they could sue you. So that's where product liability comes in. If it's like public liability, but relating very specifically to your products. So if you accidentally sell a product that's dangerous or defective, and somebody can try and sue you over it. It could be you're completely in the clear. You did nothing wrong. They've been an idiot. I mean, that can happen, but your insurance will defend you. If you are found to be guilty, despite your best efforts, your insurance may be able to pay that compensation as well. So that is where product liability comes in handy. So you've got public liability, and then product liability is like public liability specifically for the things that you make. I hope that makes sense. The third one that tends to come with a little business package is employer's liability insurance. Now, if an insurer says to you, do you have any employees? Chances are most of us would say no. However, how many of you have a friend or a family member who helps out on your stand at a craft fair, helps you set up, or maybe stays with you all day and helps you to sell things? Whether you're paying them or not, the law deems them to be an employee. Now, if it's a member of your family, your immediate family, the law probably won't be covering that liability anyway. However, if they injure themselves, wouldn't it be nice if they could actually claim off your employer's liability insurance? If you've actually got a friend helping you and they hurt themselves on your stand, then you really should have employer's liability insurance. It is, if you remember earlier, it's one of the compulsory insurances that we are obliged to have in the UK if somebody is working for us, whether paid or not. Okay, so just think about that. It's a risk you might decide to just cover yourself, self-insure, not worry about. But could I just suggest that if you are doing any craft fairs as a regular thing, or if you've got, let's say you're a YouTuber, you've got someone editing your videos on your site, if you've got anybody else who helps you with anything, say yes to the employer's liability cover. Now, on the scale that we're working, the cost shouldn't be great because what we do is pretty safe. We're not like a scaffolding firm where people could fall off a scaffolding and break their necks or whatever, are we? It's just something to think about. So that is the package that typically you will be offered for in terms of liability to cover your crafts. And I've added it onto my house insurance. You may need to get it separately if your insurers won't do that. Typically, that sort of insurance comes with a few extras as well. You can cover your kit. So if you're out and about and let's say you've taken your cricket machine to a craft fair so that you can personalize things while you're there. What happens if that gets damaged or stolen? So you could actually insure your stock, that's all the things you've made, and your equipment and tools if you wanted to. I've just got a small amount to cover for that, just a couple of £1,000, because it came part of the standard package. In addition to that, I've got my laptop insured because obviously that is an expensive bit of kit. So I added that on specially. Now, that's the basics of the insurance that you might have just purely for the selling at a craft fair. So let's take some questions. I can see we have a bunch of people in chat. Hello, John, Jenna, Sally, Sherry. Who else have we got? I think Julia is lurking. Sorry if I've missed anybody else. That's the people that are in chat. Has anybody got any questions so far? We've mentioned the threshold that HMRC consider us to be a business, and we've touched on product liability insurance, public liability insurance, employer's liability insurance, and the fact that it might be excluded from your home insurance, your standard home insurance, to use your home as a workplace. So you need to talk to your insurers about that. Any questions? I can see everybody welcoming each other in chat. What I'll do then is I'll move on. I know we do have a little bit of lag on chat. If anybody would like to put any questions into chat, I will come back to them. In the meantime, let's progress a little bit. The other thing that you get with a business insurance, and I've also got it with my house insurance and my car insurance, doesn't cost a lot and it's worth its weight in gold, and that is legal expenses insurance. Now that covers you if you have to take action against someone. It covers you if you need to defend yourself against someone. So it can cover a lot of civil matters like harassment, defamation, trespass. What else is there? All the civil types of crimes, not criminal activity, I hasten to add. And generally, legal expenses cover will provide you with a legal advice helpline, usually 24-hour. It provides you with legal fees as well. Mine goes up to £100,000 with some internal limits within it for various different sorts of legal queries. But it will provide me with a solicitor if I need to take legal action against someone, or if someone takes legal action against me. Now, that is obviously a godsend. Like I said, I've got it on my house insurance, my car insurance, and my business insurance. So if anybody wonders how I could magically summons up legal advice and a legal team a couple of weeks ago, hi Julia, hope the budgie's okay. Long story. If anybody wonders how I managed to summons up a legal team and didn't believe that I had one a couple of weeks ago, I did. It's with Agar Insurance. So that's how you do it. So easy to arrange, very, very economical as well. Now, that then takes me on to your car insurance. This is a funny one, and most people don't think about this. You go into a craft fair, you're a business now, because you've been doing quite a few craft fairs. You've gone over that £1,000 gross income threshold at HMRC set. So, you know, really, you're a business, even if it's a teeny tiny one. How are you getting to that craft fair? Are you going in your car? In that case, you need business insurance on it. Correct, Julia. So yeah, so if I'm going off to, if I was, when I was working at a single place of work, my cover on my car insurance would be social, domestic and pleasure and commuting, because I was driving to a single place of work. Now, I could be going to a craft fair here one weekend, there a few weeks later. I could be going to pick up some supplies. I could be going to deliver some things that I've been lucky enough to sell. In my case, I'm actually driving around interviewing people as well because of this YouTube channel. I'm doing some more of it very soon. That is business use. Now, if it's only you using your car for those uses, most insurers would say you just need class 1 business use insurance, which doesn't generally cost much more than ordinary social, domestic, pleasure and commuting. In fact, on mine, it made 0 difference. It was exactly the same. I just needed to declare it. If somebody else is also going to be, did you hear that motorbike? Sorry. If somebody else is going to be using the vehicle for your business or their business as well in a similar way or in any other way, you need to mention that to your insurers as well so it can be adjusted too. Now, this is actually a more serious matter than people think. People tend to think, well, if I don't tell my insurance company, nah, they'll never find out. Well, let's say you're on the way to a craft fair, you have an accident. In the back of your car is your little tub with your money for your float in it, is all your little signs and all your stock, you've got the card reader app on your phone, all that sort of thing, your flask, because you always need tea. And you're in an accident. Thankfully, nobody's hurt, but your insurance company go, what's all this doing in your car? Were you using it for business? And if you were, they can refuse to pay the claim because you didn't tell them you were doing that. So it's perfectly right for them to do that. And worst scenario, what if you've injured somebody? Now, the insurers would have to pay for that third party's injuries. Guess where they're going to come for the money back, though? Because you weren't covered. And you might end up with a no insurance conviction as well. I don't really want to scare anybody. Like I said, it cost me 0 to add the class 1 business use onto my insurance, literally 0. And I've heard of people paying an extra like £20 a year, so we're not talking a biggie. If you've already got your car insured for commuting, just adding that tiny little bit of business use cover shouldn't cost you very much at all, if at all. Say like mine, 0. So house insurance, car insurance, have we got any questions on that? This is taking me back. Any questions? See, we're getting a few more people in chat. Hello, everyone. Any more questions? I'll move on to the next bit while I keep an eye out for questions down in that chat. Do keep them coming, whether it's relating to a previous bit or where we're up to now. It's fine. I don't mind. I'm quite happy to skip around, but I'll carry on and get out the main meaty area. Quick summary of the social influencers protection that I have. Now, as this whole social media and being a YouTuber is becoming a bigger and bigger thing, that liabilities are arising. We can be accused of copyright infringements. Equally, somebody might infringe our copyright. We may be subject to all sorts of nasty things where legal action might need to be taken. So again, insurance. Now, mine covers me for if I need to pursue someone or defend myself. It covers me for things that can go wrong with being a YouTuber and putting yourself out there in front of people and people listening to what you say and being things being misinterpreted, misrepresented, twisted. all of that type of thing. And again, it comes with legal expenses cover so that you can pursue and defend. There's lots of variations on this out there. It's not widely available. You have to do a fair bit of research. Mine is with Beazley, and they seem to really know what they were talking about. Hiscox do it as well. These are UK firms, obviously. There's a few. So it's something you should just look into and see what's available in your country. See what your worries are. Again, it's not mandatory in the UK. As I said, the only insurances that we are likely to come into contact with that are mandatory are our car insurance and employers' liability insurance. So it's just a case of making sure those are set up right. The rest are, hi Tina, the rest are optional, but can I really encourage you to have a think? Now, if you're working on a very small scale still and only doing occasional craft fairs, 1 or 2 a year, you may not want to worry about all of these things. Remember, I did say insurance can, well, risk can either be managed, reduced, or whatever, accepted, and just say, yeah, on my head be it, or you can insure against it one way or another. And you could insure yourself that you can insure yourself. You could have funds. Let's say I've got £500,000 in the bank. Firstly, please lend me a fiver. But secondly, you might think, well, if anything crops up and I'm liable for it, I'll just pay. That's self-insuring. You can't do it with employer's liability and with car insurance. Well, you can, but you need millions. I forget what the figure it is, but it runs into millions. So I don't think anybody does it. You and I wouldn't. Let's put it like this. As normal people wouldn't be able to do that. Anything else is entirely optional, but it's a good idea. It's just something for you to think about, and I absolutely do not want to scare you. You may not genuinely think that you need it, and it depends very much on your circumstances and the scale of what you're doing as to whether you really need it. So, people to talk to. First of all, find yourself a good broker, a good insurance broker who knows what they're talking about, one who specialises in small businesses. Preferably find one local to you, but there are some very big insurance brokers out there that would be able to help. Just have a search on Google. I'm not going to recommend any particular companies because it wouldn't be my place to do that. However, what I can do is tell you that I personally insure with NFU Mutual. Okay. Now, I don't want anybody to think of this as advice, please, because I'm not a licensed advisor. I am simply sharing some facts with you that I know. So please don't think of this advice as advice. My only actual advice to you here is have a think about it, think what can go wrong, and look into it. So find yourself a good broker. Also, try talking to your own house insurance people and your own car insurance people. Car insurance should be easy. You can just add it on. House insurance might be a different matter. I know my firm do. Now, let's have a look at what we've got coming in the comments. So we've got Tina. Nice one. She's got liability, product liability. I take it you mean public liability and product liability there, Tina. If you're doing craft fairs, yes, absolutely. That's just the sort of thing you need. Just have a think. Do you have anybody helping you on your stand? Should you really have the employer's liability cover to go with it? If so, it wouldn't cost much to add it, I'm sure. So just have a think. Do you need to do that? Somebody's made a point here. Claire or Wendy mentioned craft fairs last night and insurance. Yes, I did see that. And at least 2 people ask what insurance. And people every day on Facebook groups. Yeah, that's part of the reason. It's a very good point, Sherry. I did see that question going around last night on that live. And I also am in a lot of Facebook groups and see what people are asking about. And this is a biggie. So I would say, be guided as well by, if you're going to go and do a craft fair and they ask you for insurance, ask them what they want you to have. That's a good guide, because not only will they say you need public and products liability, they'll probably say how much of each you want, whether it's 500,000 or 1 million. Yeah, I know they're big numbers, but it really doesn't cost that much to cover it, because let's face it, what are the chances you're going to injure them with the stuff that we do? It's pretty small. So the premiums should be sensible. Tina has said, thank you for that, Tina. Great bit of insight there. Hers is £6 a month. It's nothing, is it? So think about those other covers we mentioned as well, then the employer's liability, and think about the legal expenses cover. Honestly, I was very glad I had that over the last few weeks. Another one here from Embellish Craft Studio. Hello, Embellish. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. I should. Yeah, we were just covering that a few minutes ago. It's called Social Influencers Protection. At least that's what mine is. But there are other names for it. Public figure insurance, content creator insurance, there's a few names. There's a very few firms out there doing it still at the moment. They're very specialist. Mine's through Beazley, and it does cover my liabilities, both to defend and to pursue for things like copyright claims and all sorts of other things. Somebody tries to claim for defamation against me or anything like that, and for me to pursue that sort of thing too. So whilst you don't have to, can I say it's a very good idea? Think Media have done a video on that in America. When was that? Probably 6 months or more ago now. And they were talking to a lady lawyer who specialises in this sort of thing, and people are losing their YouTube channels and their livelihoods. Now, again, I don't want to scare you. We're crafters. It's really unlikely to happen to us. But some of the, perhaps the ones who are covering more meaty and more contentious type material, particularly, I think, are a greater risk of this sort of thing happening. So please don't let me scare you. But that insurance is out there, and I have taken it out. And mine is, this is a little bit more costly. Mine is about £40 a month. But I, particularly with my background, being so highly qualified in insurance and having worked in it for all those years, I tend to insure everything. So, even all the kit, my cameras, my microphone, this little thing that I'm talking to you on here, yeah, all that's covered. So there we go. The other question I've been asked, and this is a random one, how did you retire at 52? Pension. Anybody who doesn't believe in pensions, do stop and think, please. Check out what you can and should be doing with a proper advisor, obviously. I'm no longer licensed, as I said, so I won't be offering advice. Just, check out your situation and see what you should be doing with a good advisor. Find yourself a good independent financial advisor. Now, do carry on chucking questions. Let's drop that one off. Do carry on chucking questions into chat. I am watching it. I'll have a quick look at the notes I've got here, because some of you very kindly sent me some questions over on Discord. And Bellish has said, if anything can happen to someone, I've got used to it going to happen to me. I know the feeling. Some of us just are unlucky, aren't we? I mean, my car accident, how on earth does somebody back into a car that's right down on a drive, behind other vehicles, under a carport, and down a drop? Could only happen to me. Oh, it's Snoop Girl, of course. Sorry, I should have remembered. Right, the questions I've had come through. The ramifications of not having insurance as a content creator. What kind of legal problems could we be hit with? I think the main ones are if we're accused of something like either defamation, or the B, I think, for us is copyright, because we all use music, don't we? We all use graphics and all that sort of thing. Now, I know most of us are being very, very careful to use music that genuinely is, we've paid for the rights to it, or it's copyright free, or we've generated it ourselves in AI. So it probably doesn't affect us as much as it would most. But can you imagine these channels who do reaction videos? Can you imagine the channels who might upset people a bit more because they're more opinions and things like that? Then that's really where this sort of thing comes in, because it protects and you can attack with it. So let's say Julia would never do this because she's lovely and she's my friend. Let's say Julia stole a bit of my music. Now, in reality, I'd say, help yourself, Julia. It's fine. You use it. There's no problem. But let's say I wasn't that nice a person and Julia wasn't that sensible. She's going to put something in chat in a minute. I can see it coming. So let's say I needed to pursue her. Well, we can put copyright claims in on YouTube. But what if it was a bigger deal and it was something I really needed to pursue beyond that? To stop somebody, say, repeatedly doing it and ripping me off all the time. I might need to do something a bit more substantial. So this cover would help with that. Like I said, we're a very low risk area because we're just doing crafts. And I can't imagine any of us doing anything so underhanded as that at all. It's a just in case. So it will defend you if you're accused of things like that. It will help you to go after somebody if they do it across you. Julia's not said anything there. I bet she's typing it. Let's pick on Julia Day. Anyway, she's just laughing at me. Julia's one of my besties, just so you know. So, what next question we had was the one about the level of income. What level of income do you need to declare yourself as a business to HMRC? I think we've covered that off with that 1,000. Just remember that's gross. So before you take any deductions off. So it doesn't take long to go over that 1,000 because we're just talking income. Now, when you're actually declaring it to HMRC, you might find, if you're anything like me, your outgoings, because I still buy stuff, your outgoings will probably exceed what your income is. So you're not going to get taxed on it, but you do, and that's why you do need to keep careful records. So do that. Keep a notebook with them all in. Keep yourself a spreadsheet. Do something to keep records so that when you account to HMRC and you suddenly realise you've gone over that 1,000, comes to the end of the tax year and you're thinking, oh no, I need to let them know that you've got all your figures to hand because it's really hard to backtrack. Trust me, been there. Do that. What point do you need to declare to your home insurance that you're running a business from home? I would go with the same figures. Now, I can't find this written down anywhere, and I never have, I don't think. Julia's snuck in and stolen all the music. So I can't find this written down anywhere. I would say, though, if HMRC think you're a business, then you should be telling your insurance. I would, yeah, as Tina's put that, she's got that, look. So, right. Cover your backside. I'm going to be polite. Cover your bottom. But yes, when in doubt, let your insurance company know. Like I said, it only cost me, I'm sure it's £40 or £50 for a whole year to get the business use exclusion removed from mine. And it added on the other business covers, the public and product liability, employer's liability, and all those. So it's not a biggie to just let them know. So I hope that answers that question. And the same goes for YouTube, I would say. As soon as you're monetized and it's starting to look like your income from it is going to go over the 1,000, then same principle. Now, somebody also asked for some liability examples who, some things that could go horribly wrong for us. And I think we picked them up, but somebody actually listed a couple of scenarios where it could go wrong. And one was, what if, because this is very resin art oriented, what if I make an ashtray and somebody actually uses it as an ashtray and it goes up in flames? Let's say it burns the house down. Now, if you've put a leaflet in with that saying, don't use this as an ashtray, it is intended for being a trinket tray or whatever, you probably have covered your bottom. However, you're going to have to kind of prove that. And this is the sort of thing where, having legal representation to defend you will be great. Now, what are the chances of that happening? That much. So don't be scared. Don't be scared. The product liability one, that would fit within. Also, the other example I was given was, what if a shaker bursts and a child swallows the contents or something? Again, same sort of thing. You've probably put out a leaflet with it saying not for children or whatever, yet they let their child get hold of it. Would you want to deal with it yourself? That's the thing. If you've got the legal representation to deal with it yourself, if you've done nothing wrong and you've got all this legal backing behind you, I'm sure that would feel better. Now, as I keep saying, don't be scared. I can't imagine this happening to any of us. Now, somebody who is even more worried about this than me, which takes some doing, because being an insurance professional, it's something I take really seriously. Chemicals. we're using scary chemicals in our homes to do these crafts. At what point do we need to declare them? I would say our chemicals aren't as dangerous as you think. Yes, we want respirators and all that sort of thing. And yeah, we use blowtorches sometimes. We use those in the kitchen though, don't we? We're spraying alcohol. That's no more flammable than nail varnish remover. So whilst we are it's important for us to be very safety conscious, and to take every sensible precaution and so on. Aircrafting is probably no more dangerous than what's going on in the house already. So I would say don't worry about it. Just tell them you're a crafter, because let's face it, crafters can be using super glue. That's really flammable. Just tell them you're a crafter. If they want to know more, you can tell them more. Fine, no problem. But I wouldn't stress too much about the fact that we're using dangerous chemicals, because in the big scheme of things, frankly, it's not so. If you've got a big scale wood turning business going on, there's wood everywhere, so that's a fire risk. But you know, when you get to those sort of stages, you're going to be telling your insurer, because you're a business when it gets to that stage. So I would say your best bet is Julia's just made a really good point there. Yeah, you're right. Gasoline you're using your lawnmower is probably more dangerous. Just use a bit of common sense about it, and when in doubt, like I said, all our situations are different. I can't really advise any more than talk to your insurance company, talk to an insurance broker. All I'm trying to do is give you a heads up on a few facts and things and stuff that I have personally done myself. So please don't look upon me as an advisor here, because that's not what I'm trying to do. Product liability when you are gifting. That's another thing that people have asked about. If you're just gifting things away, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky area. I can't find anything actually written down about this. I would say if it's just gifts for family and friends, there probably won't be an issue. But what again if that keychain breaks, small child chokes on it, cousin so-and-so decides to sue you? For the sake of what was Tina saying, £6, why not cover it? I just would, to be on the safe side. Charity shops is the other question I was asked about. What if you're giving it to charity shops? Charity shops probably will want to know that you've got product liability insurance. The one that I donate mine to has to see the certificate, because at the end of the day, they're selling your products. They are initially liable for them. Then they could pursue you if there's any problems. But initially, the retailer has a lot of liability for the products that they sell. So I thought it was perfectly reasonable of them to want to see a certificate. And can I just refer you back to Tina's £6 a month thing? It's a drop in the ocean, really. I pay more than that for my editing software. Are there any other questions at this point? If so, keep chucking them in chat, because I was going to move on just to talk about, if you're going to take out insurance, what you should look for in that insurance, irrespective of what type it is. So carry on chucking your questions in. I'm just glad I can remember all of this. Okay, so while you're thinking on questions, let me carry on. What to look for in insurance? First of all, look for a good insurance company. You may be able to get a bargain insurance that's good. Tina's done well with that £6 a month, hasn't she? Now, as long as that's got everything in it that you need, and that company has got a good reputation. Oh, and that's over 10 months, so it's 60 quid a year. Yeah, that's about in line with what I'm paying then, Tina. Mine's about 50 a year, something like that. But it's added onto my house insurance, so that helps a bit. But yeah, there you go. It's nothing really, is it, in the big scheme of things? So yeah, you might find that you can get good insurance at a reasonable cost. But like with aircraft, don't always think of the cheapest as being the best value, because it's two very, very different things. So think about, is it a reputable company? See if you can find some feedback on them. Is the cover what you need? They should give you a summary of the cover at quote stage so that you can have a look and make sure there's no weird exclusions. Make sure you ask plenty of questions so you understand what you're getting for your money, what's covered and what isn't. Make sure you're also being very, very good at explaining to them exactly what you're doing and what cover you're looking for, because the best insurance works with full disclosure on the part of both parties. Tina's just mentioned an excess. That's a good point, Tina. It's a good point to throw it in, actually. Check what the excesses are as well. Now, some insurances will have like a £100 excess, some will have a 500, some you can increase the excess, you know, like you do with your car insurance. That brings your premium down a bit, that sort of thing. But do expect there to be an excess, and it's largely because they're trying to avoid any poxy little claims. Like that would drive them mad, and it wouldn't do your insurance much good either if you kept putting in claims for £50. So if you've got an excess, it basically cuts out any small claims that are just silly, really. You might as well be bearing those yourself. So just check that you're comfortable with the excesses that they're applying as well. When you're looking at what the covers are, I would suggest that the most important ones for me that I would want to look at are the liability covers. So make sure you know what the limits are. It could be that that company there is charging £1 a month more, but it's got double the liabilities, double the amount on the liability covers, or it's got you know, bigger limits on things. So make sure you're trying to compare like for like as far as you can, so you can weigh up which is the best value for you. Thing to look for in particular is, do they have that legal expenses cover? Because it doesn't cost very much. And please, can I suggest, I'm trying not to give advice because I'm not legally allowed to anymore. Anyway, I personally have taken out the legal expenses cover on everything. It doesn't cost much to add it on, and that is where you've got all those, you've got an army of solicitors behind you, whatever happens. So it's on my house, so anything happens to me in my personal capacity that I need to pursue or defend, I've got the legal cover. If it happens to do with the business, I've got it. If it happens to do with the car, I've got it. If it happens to do with YouTube, I've got it. Now, you can't insure absolutely everything. So have a close look at the exclusions as well. For example, you'll see some common ones: war and terrorism risks. That's because the government picks those risks up. And anyway, how are we going to get liable for a war or terrorism risk? So some of the exclusions, you'll think that's weird. Yeah, there's a reason for that. But just make sure that you're getting what you think you're getting for with your insurance, and ask lots of questions. Insurers nowadays are very good at talking to people who haven't really dealt with insurance so much anymore. My recent dealings with insurances, both on the legal expenses side and the car insurance side, because of that accident with my car, the insurers initially, well, the one insurer, obviously, the other one knew who I was. The other one didn't, because it's the third party's insurer. And so they explained everything so well and in such straightforward, plain English terms. So don't be afraid to ask lots of questions until you absolutely understand it. It's what they're paid for. It's their job. So there we are. Now, I think I've run out of questions. Just going through my little notebook, because I have been writing them down as they come in. I hope that was helpful. Like I said, please don't consider me to be an advisor. None of what I've just said is intended to be advice. I'll say it again. Everyone's circumstances are different. Everyone's where you are on your journey with your crafts and with your YouTube and everything. We're all in different places. I hope what I've done here is just giving you a heads up on what sort of things to think about and to look out for. And I really hope I haven't scared you, because honestly, I've had those insurances for years, except for the YouTuber one, because I've actually been running various businesses from home for a long time, and I've never had to claim on any of them until this recent incident, which, you know, has died a death, so that's good. It's just gone quiet. Shelve that. Any questions? I'm going to hang around here and see if there are any questions. That's 50 minutes of me talking. Honestly, I always say I could talk for England. The only thing I'm better at than talking constantly is sleeping. It's a useful talent, isn't it? Any questions, everyone? I know we've got a bit of chat lag. Sherry said she was already scared herself. Don't be, Sherry. Don't forget, what we're talking about covering here is some incredibly unlikely things that you will ever need them. That's why we take out insurance, isn't it? Hoping that we will never need it. And Julia feels more informed. I'm glad of that, Julia. That is good. Let's just take this one down now. So yeah, in terms of being scared, I mean, the reason the premiums are so low is, let's face it, we're really low risk. We are not people who are going to be doing anything really, really dangerous. And by golly, we're also careful with what we do. So we are very, very low risk, and we should never need these insurances. And that's the whole point of insurance, isn't it? We all pay in a bit, hoping we never need it. As Tina says, absolutely, it is just a safety net. So we all pay into insurance, hoping we never need it. And that money, well, we've paid it in premiums, is being pooled so that if that money is needed by the one or two people who do need to claim, then the money is there. And in fact, insurers do even invest it while they've got it, thus meaning they have to take as little as possible off us because they're making that money grow as well while they've got it, or growing their assets and their funds so that they can pay out those claims. So it's just people paying our tiny premiums, you know, because we all pay in the amount in terms of a premium. Our premiums are based on the risk that they think we pose to that pool of money. Tina's insurers think it's £6 a month. And other than the YouTuber insurance, so do mine roughly. So if you're talking craft fairs, that's how little a risk they think we are. So hopefully that won't have scared you. Any more questions at all, or shall I start to wrap up? If you like, we can do questions on anything else while I'm here at all. No, don't say that. Did I tell you once I said any questions on anything in the middle of a training course about, I can't remember what it was about, probably tractor insurance or something. And somebody stuck their hand up and said, what do I do about clematis wilt? Luckily, I knew the answer. I have stopped saying any questions about anything because that was just sheer luck. I'm not seeing any more questions coming in. So I'll start to wrap up. If you're just typing one, carry on, because I'll wrap up for now. Of course, those of you who are in Crafty YouTubers United, then by all means do chuck questions at me in there. Those who aren't, feel free to message me, email me, or put questions in the comments below. As I keep saying though, please bear in mind, I'm not a licensed advisor anymore. This is just me sharing some facts and hopefully making you aware of what's out there and how it could work and what you need to look into. And Lynn has just put something down there. If something does happen and your insurance refuses to help, force the subject and do not let up. Lynn, I agree. I totally agree. I would say if it's a good insurance company, they will leap straight in there and you wouldn't have that problem. So really do some homework and really, really make sure that you have found a good reputable insurer and that you tell them absolutely everything. Because I know from experience, obviously, 30 odd years in the industry, that the majority of times a claim gets declined, it is because the policyholder didn't tell the insurer something. And that could be because from inception, or it could be at renewal, or it could be when something changes. Yes, there are dodgy, well, no, does that sound wrong? There are less good. Insurers vary. I know the ones I'm with are exceptionally good. That's why I worked for them for so long. They do vary. If you've accidentally, despite your best efforts, ended up with one that isn't quite so helpful, then exactly as Lynn said, just make sure you've told them absolutely everything at outset so they know exactly what your risk is and they should have no excuse not to deal with it. And that's, you know, that I hope would make sense to us all. They can only insure what they know about, can't they? But yeah, Lynn does have a point. Not all insurers are equal, so do your homework and yeah, take them to task if they're not doing their job for you. Any more questions or great points that anybody would like to raise? because we have covered quite a lot here. Gosh, this takes me back to my training days. This is only skimming the surface. I just hope it's giving you a bit of a heads up on what to look into. So what we've talked about is why we should consider, insurance, what level. By the way, the information from HMRC that I quoted is actually direct from the HMRC website. If you go in and have a look, you will find that information. So that's all, it's all fact checked for you and everything. We've talked about the different risks. We've talked about what different insurances are out there and how the insurances that we already have might actually be affected by us running a business from home and using our cars. So I hope that has covered everything, because we've done product liability, public liability, just looking at my notes, employer's liability, house insurance, car insurance, legal expenses, and social influencers protection. I have to say that last one I'm not a great expert on yet, because it is a new one on me, and it's something that I only took out about a year and a half ago. I really need to read into it more, to be fair. Are we done then, folks? That's an hour, near enough an hour, and it's made my head hurt, and now I need wine. I think we'll wrap up then. Like I said, if there are any more questions, feel free to chuck them in the comments below this video. If you want to find a good insurance broker, it's very simple. Just Google it, find a good one in your area that can help you as well. And that's probably your best place to start. And then do talk to your insurers and keep them informed of any changes in your circumstances. And then hopefully you can't go wrong. Right, apparently that was informative. Thank you. Thank you, Snoopy Girl. Right. Thank you, Tina. I just hope I didn't overstep the mark with what constitutes advice nowadays, because I'm so used to being able to just talk about it and not have to worry. And there's all these legal requirements around advice and such nowadays. Anyway, it's just nice to use some of the knowledge that I still have lurking in my noddle before it all displayed. Trustpilot, yes. Thank you, Tina. I didn't mention that, did I? Trustpilot. Oh, hang on, that was John. You're welcome, John. And apparently blue suits me. Thank you. Trustpilot, that's what. This is another little point from Tina, who seems very, very well organised and together with all this. Trustpilot. I don't know if you have this in other countries, but in the UK, we have a facility where we can look on Trustpilot and see what scores the firm, whatever firm it is that you're dealing with, have been given by their customers, by the public. And so get some feedback on them. That's a good way to do it. Right, I'm going to wrap up then, folks. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for some excellent questions, and thank you for chipping in, those of you who had some experience of this. That's very, very good. And do shout up if you've got any more questions. Honestly, I am rusty on this stuff now. So if there's anything I don't know, I'll be totally honest with you, or I'll go and find out and send you a link that might be useful to you. HMRC's website is a godsend. The search facility on it is actually reasonably good. And yeah, find yourself a good insurance broker, or direct to an insurance company, whichever works best for you. Okay, I'll see you all soon, folks. Would you please let me know as well what topic you'd like me to talk about next? Happy to talk about anything to do with YouTubing, basically, on this channel. If it's to do with specifically resin, we can probably do a Q&A on the other channel. I don't know. Just trying to see where it sits. So I wanted to cover the YouTube stuff on this channel, and also because a lot of people are now crafting and actually selling stuff, I thought that would probably sit best on this channel as well, because we're talking about hobbies and things, aren't we? Hard to know what to do, really. Right, I'm going to sign off now and go and see if I can talk with Mark into coming with me to get some wine. I'll see you soon, everyone. Take care. We've got Froggy Friday coming up. Don't forget, for the resin crafters. And I've got a premiere out on Saturday. We've got a whole load of collaboration things coming up. So keep an eye out for all the crazy stuff going on all our resin channels. Thanks, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye.